everybody, this is Phil from Drop Gun Shop, coming at you with this week's training tip. I want to talk a little bit this week about a post-incident scan, the scan process. You hear it called scan and assess, post-incident scanning, post-shooting scanning, a lot of different names for it. A lot of different ways to do this as well. You see a lot of trainers throughout the country and throughout time that have done this and tried to skin this cat a lot of different ways. We're going to give you our take on it and the way that we look at the scan process and why it's so very important. I'm going to talk to you about why it's not just a range dance. You know, we see those shooters out there that they get done shooting and they've trained with some good guys that understood what a scan process really was and why you do a scan process, but you watch them on the range. And I've watched them through years of training, you know, behind the line, on the line. They do that little dance. They shoot their rounds and then they do their little dance. They look around, they look behind them. You know, even to the point where some of the ones that are pretty comical, you know, everybody's seen the YouTube video of the old Frankenstein scan, things like this. So we're going to talk about why we really do a scan. Why do we do the scan process after a shooting or after a critical incident of any type? Here's why it's so important. You know, this isn't a lesson about all the physiological and psychological and emotional things that can happen to our body in a critical incident. But a lot of those things, they take to narrow our focus. You know, a lot of those heightened senses. Tunnel vision is the most common, that visual restriction. Everybody talks about tunnel vision. Great thing about tunnel vision is inside that tunnel, your visual acuity is as good as you're ever going to have it. But it's hard to have situational awareness when you have that. And the faster we can break out of that and get ourselves back to seeing what's going on, it's that +1 rule. If we have one threat, we probably have two. Particularly for those of us carrying concealed carry holders, doing this for defense. Listen, a thug's not going to come at you. If you've got a good posture, you're paying attention, you may appear like a hard target. That doesn't mean you won't be a target. That just means the criminals may not come at you one at a time. They may come at you 2 and 3 and 4 at a time. So you need to break out of that initial threat that's taking your attention and really start to see what's going on. So here's how I like to teach the scan process. You know, I'm a Marine veteran, so I like to do everything in ditties. So we have a little ditty for the scan process, and it's really simply this: down, up, out, and in. That's how we run our scan process. I'm going to talk about each of those really, really briefly, each part of that scan process and why it's important. The first is the down scan. So we're taking away the decision making here. We're talking about after the shots are fired. That's when we start this process. The down scan is important because the biggest threat you got is what you just shot, okay? That's down. Is that suspect down? Is that bad guy down? Is that person that's trying to harm you, are they in fact down? Now, down can be a lot of ways. In Hollywood, we know that downs, I fire my rounds and they fly through the air and they go down. Reality is very rarely that. You're very rarely going to find where someone just drops like a sack of bricks. It just doesn't happen. So down may not be down on the ground, but we think figuratively. We're shooting our target. When we talk about engaging a threat, we're shooting that threat into the ground and we continue to shoot that threat as it goes down. Another way that a target could be down, it could be down out of our sight. So we no longer see that. Movement is a constant dynamic in a fight. So that threat's moving and we're moving. We have those movement patterns going on. We may no longer see our threat. They may be out of our vision. They may be in effect down. That threat's down. So that's the first part of our scan. So as I shoot that threat down into the ground, are they in fact down? Are they still a threat? I'm probably moving at the time that that's happening. I'm already moving. It's a funny thing when the bullets start to fly and the feet get to moving. No matter what you train. We train a lot standing still. Far too often we train standing still. But bullets going both ways have a funny way of making your feet move. After my down scan, then what I want to do is I want to bring my senses up. I want to bring my visual perception up. Everything about it. I want to start looking up. That's that part classically that you see in the range dance where you see folks starting to sweep side to side, side to side. All right, I'm not a big proponent of sweeping the gun and eye muzzle target the entire way. I like to bring the gun back into a ready position. We call it a high index. Some call it a high compressed ready. I can look with my eyes and I want to start building out my field of vision. That's what's so important here. Getting my vision up and increasing my situational awareness. That's that 360-degree scan. I'm starting to look up, look to the left, look to the right. Again, not a range dance. We have a very specific purpose for it, which I'm going to talk about when we get to the next part. So we have down, we've shot that target into the ground. We begin to bring our senses up. We're looking around, we're looking left, right. We're looking behind us. We're looking in a 360-degree environment. Again, we can demo it standing still, but chances are I'm probably going to be moving. The next part is out. So I'm looking for a couple things in the out scan. As I'm continuing to look 360 degrees, I'm looking for a few things in the out scan. I'm looking for some cover or a cover out. I'm looking for a help out, or I'm looking for a way out. So do I have a piece of cover I can get to quickly? Think about your day-to-day lives. We're never more than a few steps away from at least concealment, probably cover. Chances of you getting in a fight or being attacked in the middle of a football field are pretty remote. So we usually have a piece of cover or at least a piece of concealment pretty close to us. So I'm looking for that in my scan. I'm looking for a help out. Do I have bystanders around that I can call for help? I can ask to help. I can ask to call police. I can ask to do a number of different things. All right? And then I'm looking for a way out. Do I have an escape path? I'm constantly looking. Again, I said, our feet are probably moving the entire time this is going on. We're moving somewhere. This scan process isn't an A, B, C, D process. This is a continually flowing. I'm still checking back to my threat. If they're still in my field of vision, I'm still checking back to them. Are they still truly down? It's cyclical. It continues to go and go and go. So I've got my down, shot them into the ground. I'm up. I've started to bring my situational awareness up. I'm now out. I'm looking for those three things. And finally, once I move to that, I'm going to turn my scan inward. This is an important step a lot of people don't get often. I want to turn that scan in. Am I okay? Okay? Physically to the point of looking at myself. I've got a piece of cover. In the demonstration I'm going to show you, I'm going to move back to this barricade here, move back to this backer that I'm using as a barricade. And I want to start physically checking myself. Does anything hurt? Is anything not working right? Look myself over really quick. Am I bleeding? Is my gear okay? That's the in scan. I'm going to turn the in scan to my gun. What's the status of my gun? We see dash cam videos of law enforcement officers in shootings where they're backing up, or now we're seeing body cam videos where they're involved in critical incidents, they're firing shots, and they're walking around with a weapon that's in a malfunction status or even empty, and they don't perceive it for a little while. It's easy to miss those things in the chaos that's going on. So that in scan turns in, is my gun good to go? If I'm carrying a spare ammunition source like I should be, do I have time? Do I have distance? Do I have that safety that I need to top that gun off, or am I better off? If I'm only a couple feet away from a bad guy, he's still crawling around, rolling around, and I got my best position I'm going to get, that may not be the time I want to go for that fresh magazine. I'm not really sure. I even have the chance, if I have to pop it out and check it. If it's the only magazine I have and I'm not carrying spare ammunition, I would like an idea of how many rounds I still have in that magazine. That's my in scan. So looking at it one more time, I go down, my threat's down, I come up, bring my situational awareness up. I scan out, looking for a cover out, a way out, or a help out. And then I bring the scan in, check myself. Am I okay? Am I injured? Is my gun good to go? Once I have all those things answered, I can continue to evaluate, and I can move on to the next step. I can make that emergency communication. I can decide to increase or improve my position and decide what tactical decisions I'm going to have to make and where I'm going to have to go and what I'm going to have to do. Okay, and again, I want to drive to you, when you're practicing on the range, something that I did a bunch of years back, I made a very conscious decision to do this. When I scan, I'm not just doing a dance. Everybody gets into this range dance. And every trainer that teaches it differently, we teach the way we want to see it, and we watch shooters out there do the range dance. And I've had it happen with me. I watch folks that come out, they'll shoot their target down, they'll scan. I watch them doing their thing. I watch them look at themselves. I can hear them, almost hear them mentally working through down, up, out, in. But they're not really seeing what they need to see. So here's an important little exercise that I want you to work on. Maybe the biggest tip of this entire video is, when you're performing your scans, no matter where you are, if you're at the range with a friend, if you're here at Trop in the indoor range and you're on the line, I want you to take your time, and as you're scanning, really slow down and pay attention to what matters. Don't just look, but actually see. Get in the habit, force yourself into the habit to slow down and look at what's in people's hands. This is what will hurt you. These are what will punch you in the face. These are what will hold a knife that will stab you or a gun that will shoot you. It's so important to look at the hands. And that's a skill that we can build through training and repetition like anything else we do. Look at their hands. Take the time to look. As I'm scanning back, scan the line and see who's holding a gun in their hand. Take mental notes. Be very specific. The guy's got a Glock 17 in his right hand. Okay, that guy has a Ruger LCP. He's left-handed. Slow yourself down and really see those things in a very detailed way. When you're out training with each other, if you're using a training partner, have your training partner randomly put things in his hand and then ask you if you saw what was in his hand. Slow down. It's not a dance. It's not left, right, back, back, I'm good. Slow down and see, not just look around and do your range dance. Okay, guys, hopefully this helped you out. We talked a lot about post-incident scanning process, what's important, and things you can work on the range going forward from there. This is Phil from Trop Gun Shop with your training tip.